Welcome friends, enemies, and everyone in between to my channel, The Masked Mormon. I am in fact the Masked Mormon.
Why you wearing a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh no, it's just they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
If you are returning, welcome back. If this is your first time here, I am a Mormon who used to believe in the truth claims of the Mormon Church. I did it all. I was baptized, I served a mission, went to BYU, I was married in the temple, and all of the rest of it. I truly believed in the claims of Mormonism. Now, I explore some of the implications of Mormon theology, culture, and some of my own personal experiences, and talk about it on the internet with you fine viewers. It has been exciting to see this channel grow in the last couple of months. I think I'm coming up on, 2 years of making videos for this channel? I guess I've just served a mission. But instead of hanging up my mask, I intend to keep on going. As I was going over the SEC, Finding the Church, I started to think about, what does it cost to be a Mormon? In an early video, I talk about the crushing financial weight that tithing is. If you haven't seen that one, check it out when you're done here. But to summarize, I talk about how tithing financially cripples faithful Mormons, especially poor Mormons. I then explore what would happen if a person were to invest their 10% in a mutual fund over their life instead of giving it to a multi-billion-dollar corporation, masquerading as a church. By retirement, that person would have a healthy nest egg on which to retire. And I ultimately conclude that the money a person gives in tithing would make more of a difference in their life than it does in the church. $100,000, $500,000, $1 million does a lot more good for a person and their family and is only a drop in the bucket for the church. It's merely, a few days worth of interest to the church, and it just sits in Ensign Peak collecting more and more interest. These are life-changing amounts of money for a person and their family. They don't really make much difference to the church. The church consumes the widow's bread and sometimes, begrudgingly, provides crumbs in return. But today, we aren't talking about tithing directly. If you saw the title card, you know that we are talking about the cost of Mormonism. Now this means the monetary cost, not the cost in time or opportunity. If you were to ask a Mormon missionary how much it costs to join the church, they would likely tell you that it is free, which I guess technically it is free to join. You aren't audited or shaken down for money. Well, they will give you a Book of Mormon for free. You won't see a collection plate passed around a church service. But if you decide you want to join the church, you will take lessons from the missionaries, and one of those lessons will teach you about the law of tithing. You will be taught that if you join the church, you will be expected to pay 1/10 of your income as tithing. Granted, they will leave it up to you if you want to pay on net or gross wages. But do you want net or gross blessings? It is true that after you are baptized, no one will come after you for money. However, if you want to be a faithful Mormon, you must pay your tithing. If you want to enjoy the privilege of attending the temple to perform baptisms for your dead ancestors, you must pay your tithing. If you want to have your marriage solemnized and sealed for eternity and have a forever family, you must pay your tithing. One of the requirements for holding a temple recommend is answering the question of whether you are a tithe payer. Mormonism isn't free. You purchase the blessings of full fellowship and exaltation for the low, low price of 10% of your income for life. After all, you can buy anything in this world with money. It doesn't matter if you fall in hard times. you are still expected to pay, even if you can't pay for food or shelter for your family. For a church that harps on self-reliance, it ultimately makes people dependent on them. So this got me thinking about how much does it actually cost to be a Mormon? And what I found was quite surprising. Mormonism will cost you quite a bit. So let's get into it. Now, everybody's situation will be unique, so I will have to speak in generalities. Let's assume someone completely average. That way, we can use the average income figures over the course of a career. I will leave a link where I found my income data in the description below. This income will be adjusted for inflation, so we can compare the same dollars over the decades. Let's call our average Mormon, I don't know, how about Brigham? And let's also say that Brigham works for about 40 years, starting after mission and college and working into his 60s. A pretty average career. We can see this in the graph. Brigham starts off in 1982 making an inflation-adjusted average income of about $67,000. Not too shabby. Now I put the income on a logarithmic axis, which will make things clearer as we go on. You will see some ups and downs over the years, but Brigham sees a gradual increase over his 40 years of working. After 40 years, you see a sudden drop. That's because Brigham enters retirement and starts drawing Social Security. This is, of course, discounting any pensions or 401k payouts. All his extra money went to food storage, a large family, and expecting the second coming will happen any day now. You can actually calculate what you will receive in Social Security pretty easily. The Social Security website will walk you through it. To do this, you take the average monthly wages of your maximum 35 working years. In Brigham's case, this is $7,163. His benefit is then 90% of the first $1,115, 32% of the next $5,600, and 15% of the rest. This gives a Social Security benefit of about $34,365 a year. Now that can be a big drop. He goes from making over $100,000 a year down to about a third of that. Hopefully, he has his finances in order and his home paid off. Let's say that Brigham has a 10-year retirement before moving on to a more celestial experience. If we add all his wages up over the course of his life, neglecting taxes and other expenses, Brigham makes nearly $3.78 million. Not too bad. Now this gives us what he makes over the course of his life. Let's now talk about the expenses incurred by the church. Now, Brigham served a mission, and because the church makes you pay for it, Brigham scrimped and saved during his formative years to come up with $10,000. As best I can tell, this is what a mission cost in the late 70s and early 80s. In fact, that's what a mission cost up until very recently, when the costs increased. So right off the bat, Mormonism has cost Brigham $10,000. Brigham is a faithful Mormon, and over the course of his life, he has taken the teachings about tithing very seriously. So, he pays tithing for his entire life, and he pays on gross income, because again, he wants gross blessings. This averages to about $8,400 a year before he hits retirement. Then it drops down to $3,400 a year. Adding all this up each year, Brigham pays the church $377,490 in tithing. Imagine what you could do with a nest egg like that. But Brigham never sees it again. This, on top of taxes, which I'm not showing here, takes a pretty hefty bite out of his income. Brigham also pays a generous fast offering. Let's say he pays about 1%. This translates to about $840 a year, or about $70 a month. That's before retirement, and $344 a year after, for a grand total of $37,749. Again, not a small amount. And because Brigham has been to the temple, he needs garments. The special undergarment that signifies the obligation a person takes upon themselves in the temple. A set of garments is about $8, and he gets enough to cover, let's say, 2 weeks. But he needs to replace them every year. So this is about $112 a year, or $5,712 over the course of his life. This is, of course, ignoring any tithing his wife may pay, or buying her garments. So totaling all that up, let's see, carry the 2, divide by pi. Brigham ends up paying $430,951. Wow, almost $500,000, or 11.4% of his lifetime income. Again, how life-changing do you think that amount of money would be for you instead of throwing it into Smog's hoard? I mean, giving it to the church, you invested it. It would be worth a whole lot more after gaining 40 years worth of interest. But those are the direct costs of Mormonism. There are a few consequential costs that often get forgotten about. These are the costs that are associated with lost time. Now, this isn't the cost of meetings or of cleaning the church or whatever, but let's circle back to when Brigham took 2 years off of college to serve a mission. Well, over those years, the total cost of college got more expensive. That just seems to be the nature of things. In reality, due to the timing of when most people go on missions and the start of a new semester and having no money, this 2 years is more realistically 3 years. But we'll just keep it at the 2 years. Looking at historical data in the early 80s, the total cost of college for those 2 years increased by about $1,900. Today, with current college costs, that amount would be a whole lot more. Also, Brigham lost 2 years of his working life because of that mission. And these years aren't subtracted from the front end of someone's career, because ostensibly, we all start at about the same. Those years are subtracted from the most lucrative side of a person's career, the back end. At the end of his career, Brigham is making over $100,000 a year. But his career is 2 years shorter than everyone else's. So he also gives up those 2 years at the end of his career. This is a loss of $204,000. Again, not an insignificant amount. So, what does Mormonism cost Brigham? In total dollars paid to the church, and in dollars lost due to circumstances demanded by the church, Mormonism costs Brigham, drumroll please, $636,865, or about 17% of his lifetime wages. Wow. Now there may have been some things that I missed in there, but great Odin's Raven, that's a lot of money. Money that he will never be able to capitalize on. $430,000 of that paid directly into the church's investment funds, growing and growing to the benefit of the church. This, of course, doesn't take into account if Brigham and his wife decide to serve a senior mission, which they have to front the costs for. A senior mission will cost them $1,400 to about $5,200 a month, and these missions can last 18 months or longer. So you could tack on at least an additional $25,200 to about $93,000. Now what if Brigham loses his job? Will the church give him a reprieve on paying tithing? No. Will it refund him some of his money to get out of a rough spot? That's cute, but no. The church may provide Brigham with some assistance from the bishop's storehouse, but in return, he will have to clean the church's toilets. And the value of any assistance that is given by the church, which comes out of the fast offerings, will be less than the money he paid in tithing. So a net loss for Brigham. The church is a ravenous beast that will demand money your whole life. It will hold your exaltation hostage. A member ultimately pays to get into Mormon heaven. The price of admission is just 10% of your income, plus other offerings, plus the value of your lost time. It really is a bargain. Now, let me slow my roll just a little bit here. There may be people who may find a great value in being a part of Mormonism, and they may be happy to pay their tithes and offerings. They might view the money that they pay as not their money, but God's money. But what does God need with a starship? Sorry, I just watched Star Trek V. I mean, what does God need with their money? If they want to pay, fine. But I think making an informed choice is important. If they ran the numbers like I did, would they feel comfortable with the amounts of money that they give? Especially in light of the revelations in relation to the SEC fine? The church really doesn't need the members' money any longer. Now, if someone wants to donate, fine. But just like any other organization you donate to, you should know where the money goes. But what are your thoughts? Is there something that I left out? How much did Mormonism cost you? Have you figured it out yet? Fortunately, I stopped paying tithing before I got too far into my career. Unfortunately, I paid tithing during the poorest part of my life. Let me know down in the comments. If you like what I do here, please give a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And I will see you again very soon.